Let's talk about the Range Rover, not the car. The car is fine. We're talking about the people. Because buying a Range Rover is less of an automotive decision and more of a personality announcement. It's a press release. It's a LinkedIn post with 4 wheels and a suspension that costs more to fix than your first apartment. And today, we're going to break down every single type of person who has ever slid behind that leather-wrapped steering wheel, adjusted their posture by exactly 2 degrees, and thought to themselves, yeah, this is who I am now. Let's start with the most iconic specimen in the entire Range Rover ecosystem. The person who bought it because they wanted people to think they go off-road, but the closest they've ever been to actual terrain is that speed bump outside the Whole Foods in Scottsdale. We're talking about the aesthetic off-roader. This person spent 45 minutes configuring the terrain response system, watched 3 YouTube videos about what low range means, and has used exactly none of it. The car has all-terrain tires. They park it on heated concrete. There is not a single scratch on the underbody. Not one. The only mud this Range Rover has ever seen came from the splashback of a puddle in a Ralph Lauren parking lot. And yet, and this is the genius part, they talk about it like it's a Land Cruiser they drove across Mozambique. Oh yeah, she handles anything, sir. You live in Tampa. Then there's the new money buyer. And before you come at me, understand that I say this with full respect, because at least they're honest about why they bought it. They didn't want a reliable car. They wanted a statement. A loud, unmistakable, park it in front and let everybody see it statement. This is the guy who made it, who worked for it, who came from nothing and now has something, and the Range Rover is the most elegant way to say, I am no longer where I started without actually saying anything at all. You can't be mad at that. The problem is when they buy the Sport, which is the entry-level flex, and then have to explain to everyone at the dinner table why they didn't get the full size. The Sport is actually sportier. Nobody believes you, but okay. Now, the old money Range Rover buyer is a completely different animal. This is the person for whom the Range Rover was literally designed, the British aristocrat, the countryside estate owner, the person who actually needs to drive through an actual field to get to their actual second home. These people don't care about the Range Rover being luxurious. They've always had luxury. They care that it doesn't embarrass them when they show up at a horse event. This buyer has had 6 Range Rovers in a row, each one a slightly different shade of green or gray, each one wearing the same mud with dignity. They find the new models offensive because of the touchscreen. They preferred it when the buttons were buttons. They are correct. Let's talk about the Instagram influencer Range Rover, because this one is a cultural phenomenon. This is not a car purchase. This is a prop acquisition. The color is always the same, some variation of frozen white or Santorini black or that specific gray that photographs beautifully against any background. The number plate is personalized. The windows are tinted precisely to legal limit. There are at least 4 reels of this car parked in front of something architectural. The caption says something about new chapter or my piece or just the car emoji and a location tag. The Range Rover in this context is a social currency vehicle. It communicates aspiration. It communicates arrival. And the monthly payment communicates something entirely different. But nobody puts that in the caption. And this brings us to possibly the most controversial subset in the entire Range Rover universe, the person who absolutely cannot afford it. Don't look away. You know someone. Maybe you are someone. The math does not work, has never worked, will never work. And yet there they are, at the dealership, running numbers in their head that only make sense if every single optimistic scenario in their life plays out simultaneously and nothing unexpected ever happened. The Range Rover became the status car of choice for people who wanted to project wealth rather than possess it, and the leasing structure made it dangerously accessible. A 3-year lease at eye-watering monthly payments, balloon payment looming in the distance like a financial storm they've decided not to think about yet. The car is immaculate. The savings account is not. But you can't see the savings account from the outside. And that is the entire point. Now we have to talk about reliability, because no conversation about Range Rover owners is complete without acknowledging that this car has a complicated relationship with the concept of working. And to be clear, the newer ones are genuinely better. But the reputation exists for a reason, And the reason is a decade-long stretch where Range Rover owners were essentially beta testers with nicer seats, the electric sunroof that decided it had done enough, the air suspension that went on strike without notice, the infotainment system that rebooted every time you accelerated past 60. And yet, and this is the psychological masterpiece of the Range Rover brand, owners forgave it every single time. They complained loudly, swore they would never buy another one, and then bought another one. Because the experience of driving a Range Rover when it was working was so genuinely good that it erased the memory of every time it wasn't. This is not rational behavior. It is, however, very human behavior. And Range Rover understood that before anyone said it out loud. Let's talk about the celebrity Range Rover. Because Los Angeles without a Range Rover is just Los Angeles with a parking problem. The Range Rover became the unofficial car of Hollywood sometime around the mid-2000s and never left. It's the car you drive to the studio meeting. It's the car in the background of the paparazzi shot. It's the car with the driver waiting outside the restaurant. Victoria Beckham made the blacked-out Range Rover the global symbol of a certain kind of cool, polished, intimidating, effortless, and completely above explaining itself. Celebrities have been photographed in Range Rovers so consistently for so long that the car itself now carries that energy before you even get in. You buy the Range Rover partially because of what the car is and partially because of who you've watched drive one for 20 years. Then there's the football player Range Rover. This is a completely distinct category from celebrity because the footballer, particularly the Premier League footballer or the NFL wide receiver, does not want subtlety. They want the SVR. They want the exhaust. They want the 22-inch wheels that make the car look angry. They want to pull up to training in something that makes their teammates turn around. The base Range Rover is too quiet for this demographic, too dignified. They need the version that sounds like it's processing something emotionally, and good for them. The SVR is genuinely magnificent. It makes no practical sense. It weighs as much as a building and does 0 to 60 faster than a sports car. It is the most absurd engineering achievement in the segment. It is perfect. We cannot skip the school-run Range Rover, which is simultaneously the most mocked and most logical use of this vehicle. Yes, it's enormous. Yes, it uses 14 different parking spaces. Yes, the person driving it has absolutely no spatial awareness regarding its dimension. But, and this is important when you have 3 kids, a dog, 2 weeks of sports equipment, and 0 desire to be inconvenienced, the Range Rover actually makes sense. The problem is not the car. The problem is the parking lot. The problem is the person who parks sideways across 2 spaces at drop-off and then takes 4 minutes to get out because they're finishing a call. You know who you are. The car did nothing wrong. There's also the midlife crisis Range Rover buyer, which is the more mature, more expensive, more socially acceptable version of a sports car at 45. This person looked at a Porsche 911 and thought, I like the idea of this, but I also need to fit a kayak in the back. They didn't actually need to fit a kayak in the back. They haven't kayaked since 2019, but the option is there, and the option matters. The Range Rover let them feel like they made a responsible decision while also spending the same money they would have on the irresponsible one. It's the psychological loophole of the luxury SUV. You can tell yourself it's practical. Nobody can prove otherwise. And finally, the person who's had one for 12 years, who's on their 3rd one, whose first one was the 2-door Defender before they were cool, who remembers when the brand was about function first and luxury second, who says they've lost the plot a bit but buys the new one anyway, every time, without fail, and knows every single quirk and fault, and still tells you it's the best car in the world when it's working. Because it is. When it's working, there is genuinely nothing on earth that feels like a Range Rover. Nothing that sits you that high, wraps you that well, moves that smoothly over terrain that should stop any normal vehicle. It is the most compelling, most maddening, most seductive bad decision in the automotive world, and every single one of its owners knows it. And not one of them is selling it.